Today, Night Talk, I'm very, very glad today to be with Martins Popelis and Helmuts Bems. I'm very flattered to have you guys. There's a lot of things happening right now in the company in terms of news, in terms of partnership, but I have also a couple of questions to ask you. Out of curiosity, what were you doing before founding the company? Was it related to sound engineering or was it in a very different field?
Sound somewhat has been like a hobby, but I was a totally amateur level kind of person interested in audio. Like audio was never my main thing. In fact, I did some sort of sound related projects before, but those are just like do-it-yourself home type of projects. From today's perspective, they were completely ridiculous. So I think, like, answering your question, that means I started from complete scratch. It was a totally new industry for me.
It's, the same goes for me. As much as I think back, it's now actually curious as I remember myself in the earlier days, kind of audio has kind of been there on the parallel as some sort of hobby interest. For some reason I've been attracted to like amplifiers, and we did some PA for school discos and stuff like that, but it was like I think I spent my first money on a home kind of stereo for my room and stuff like that, but it was not really, and no serious involvement with audio prior to Sonarworks.
And so how did you guys met or known? This is for a long time?
Yeah, we know each other for a very long time. I think we met in secondary school, so before university. Then we went to the same class in the university. Then we started the first company together. And then there was like a small break in between in our marriage, and now we are happily back together.
Latvian woman. So when does the first sparkle in your mind comes about? We should find a company that is related to sound calibration and audio.
It was actually kind of as Helmut said, we had quite a bit of the same journey in life in terms of education and founding companies together. And then at some point it kind of came to both of us that it's about time to start some new venture. And I think it was primarily a willingness, or kind of we kind of wanted to build some new company. We wanted to do something global and something tech related and something interesting, kind of some cool adventure. It wasn't necessarily going to be about audio. It was about hey, let's figure out some cool thing that we can do and build some products or services or something. But we really went through a very broad list of ideas at the time, starting from like software for ship fleet management and ending with eco food ideas. So audio kind of came as a I don't want to say an accident. I mean, it was somehow we were attracted to audio. So at some point we met an engineer who had a prototype for speaker measurement and calibration. It was like, that's an interesting idea, and it kind of went from there. But it was kind of outright, it was just an adventure to build a company.
Yeah, I guess, well, from there it was sort of a very business oriented decision making process where like we didn't come from like professional audio side. So when I see a product prototype that is audio related, like I can't really say whether that's a game changing thing or somebody is just like tricking me. So what we did was we went off to LA for some time. We actually and the goal there was just to go around and talk to the actual audio professionals, and there we saw that, hey, this product actually works. The concept is right. There is a need in the market. We understood that the product wasn't right, but we saw what the technology can do. We saw that there is a market need. And that's where that's at that point it clicks and you say, okay, this makes sense. This is a new technology. It's actually game changing in the industry. So I'll jump all in into this one.
You have consumers all over the world, and I think that people, most of them, don't realize actually the place that music got in Latvia, about singing, about choirs, about music and dance festival. You go in small town, and for me, with a foreigner, it's striking. Every small town has this venue with quite good quality. You have music school. You have really a background of culture related to music and sound. Is it the kind of thing that you consider to have been helpful or stimulating also?
There is, I think, somewhat that, because that means that this aspect means that there are more people in general that resonate with this particular industry, and I find that there are kind of, as you said, lots of people that are in like somewhat music related on the creative side. There is another big aspect in the mix that you didn't mention, which I think plays ultimately a bigger role, which was in the Soviet Union. Riga had this Rigas Radio Rūpnīca, this factory that was producing speakers, and like as things were in the Soviet Union.
There was also VEF, which was producing also
yes,
audio gear for the whole Soviet Union. So
and that was an absolutely gigantic enterprise. So it was a monopoly. Almost. There was another one in the Soviet Union, but it's Triple R was the name of the company. That company was like the biggest one in the Soviet Union. You have a sound equipment manufacturer that has a monopoly on 150 million people market, which is an absolutely insane kind of market condition. So if you look at Riga, there's a whole district in Riga which was just built for the workers of that factory. It was absolutely enormous. So when the Soviet Union collapsed, of course the market collapsed, and there's no need for a company of that size. So but what was left from that event was lots of engineers, lots of people who were actually involved in the industry from a technical point of view. And one way or another, you could see how this kind of span many other companies afterwards. So I think this there was also some technical competence that was in Latvia in particular because of these conditions that kind of set us apart from other places. Why, if you look now, and I think I do see like a cluster here, there it's not just us, there are quite a few other companies that are successful in sound related technologies and products. And I think it like one way or another you will trace it back to somehow to like that competence being there kind of when the Soviet Union collapsed.
So there's kind of both components, like the emotional attachment to music, singing, and creativity in general, and on the other hand there is some technical background that's still kind of through generations one way or another has influenced people's interest towards audio technologies around here.
And what is the ratio of people involved in musical activities or making music on their own inside the company? You have an idea of it?
Quite like I can't say a precise like ratio from heart.
60-70%.
Yeah, but
we definitely attract people who are kind of in that hobby, and over time, as we have now grown to be quite a big team, it's kind of definitely very, very many people are attracted to that in different ways.
And is it a criteria for being employed also? Because I
not really. I think we actually kind of on the opposite. I mean, that's definitely a positive thing, and it definitely kind of adds to the motivation of why people want to work here. So, I mean, on average, I think we attract more of those people than, I don't know, a bank or something like that. But on the other hand, I think one of the strengths around here, including us with me and Helmuts kind of not coming from the music industry, is that you actually have a pretty diverse set of backgrounds, and it's not that everybody is like a committed guitarist from age 3, and thus we actually share quite a broad perspective on things. Sometimes it leads to many kind of quarrels and disputes, but I think ultimately it's what enables us to take a fresh look at the problems and challenges and do what we do very good, very well.
So you are working in tech and sound, but you are also a startup, and you have some values, or I would say like truthfulness, ambition, learn and experience. Are you the person who started this as a catchword or motivation to?
No, like this one in particular, we sort of, the first step comes when you realize that values are important as such. Sort of they, like, it's a question of when you try to explain how the world works or how things work in general. Like, there are many layers how you can explain things. At some point, I guess, you get to the stage where you realize that values actually play a major role in why things are happening the way they are happening eventually. So I think we came from a background when we really thought that values are important, not because of some sort of, it's a marketing tool to get some kind of message across, but really when you understand that fundamentally a lot is based on values. And then and that was actually fairly early in the company, we said values are important tool to grow a company. You can't choose values just out of thin air. Like, if they don't resonate with me or with the rest of the team, they will never work, because that's what values are by definition. It's like, you can't really change your values, or at least short term you can't. So then we came together and we literally kind of sat down and we did.
I think we had a team of like 15 or 20 people at the time, so we did like a 1 or 2 day seminar where we kind of spent time talking about it and crystallizing what are the kind of top most important values, and those have been with us since then.
And then if we dig deeper and we ask the question of, why did I care about truthfulness as a value? Well, it comes out of my kind of character and my previous life experience. And it's hard to answer how much of that comes out of the local culture and whether I think that kind of sort of Soviet Union, if you think about the heritage of this nation, right, being Latvia, which is a post-Soviet republic. So the Soviet Union was, like, it probably scored one of the least when it comes to truthfulness. The whole system is like untruthful. That's the core. I guess, like, most of the time in a communist kind of environment, like, your core value is like, not anti-truthfulness. So does that play an effect when you like break free and you suddenly say, I actually kind of want to adhere to that value? I don't know. It's such a deep kind of long shot.
I think it's kind of. I would kind of say, I think both of us and most of the team at that time, and to many degrees also currently, we kind of come from this. I don't know, more like extremely rational perspective on the world rather than super emotional or creative. It's more like, hey, so what are we doing? What are the objectives? And then sometimes also kind of, and it kind of stimulates this environment where you kind of lay things out clearly and you kind of debate them and you let the kind of truth win the argument, and it doesn't matter kind of what's your kind of status in the company. It's kind of, if you win the argument, then that must be the truth. It's kind of the way how we kind of look for it. And it's just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of the type of thing that we like. I mean, I've been in some other organizational cultures where it's mostly about, I don't know, organizational politics or something, and it's just kind of, I don't know, I can't really feel good in that environment to the point where I feel totally demotivated because it's a totally different game and everybody's talking about one thing and playing another one. And I guess it kind of came up that, hey, that's actually very useful, and if we end up putting so much time and effort into building a company, why not build something that we kind of like and believe in? So I mean, I guess me and Helmuts, we kind of came from the time when Soviet Union was already on its kind of end days, so I don't think we have been directly kind of heavily influenced by what it was in the
Through
60s or
society.
70s, but through society. Sure. So there are all these kind of more abstract and kind of in-depth effects, sure, but kind of distilling those, I guess, is tricky.
But it serves in ultimately the creativity inside the company.
Yeah. I mean, I think kind of creativity can very much exist and be created within kind of some sort of clear and rational environment. It's not that you have to be drunk and messy to be creative. It's yeah.
So there have been big changes inside the company, and this particularly this rebranding in SoundID reference. Can you explain to us what you felt the need of making this rebranding coming from Truthfulness and reference? I have an idea and I express some theories, but I want to hear you about this.
From the product perspective, I mean, since actually very early days in the company, we started off with building a product for the music creators, but we've kind of always been more ambitious than just the music creator market, and we've kind of tried to look at the whole problem broader, because like fixing the sound for the music creators, establishing a reference sound for them is nice, but ultimately you still have all the consumers out there who listen to the music, who hear all types of sounds from their headphones and their speakers. And I think at the very core, what we're trying to do is, on one hand, we're trying to search for the ultimate answer to what is perfect sound and how can we deliver it to as many people as possible. And that answer, I think, turned out to be a little different than we originally expected. But then on the other hand, at the essence, from the music creator perspective, we're dealing with the translation problem. We're trying to eliminate that. I mean, part of the problem is establishing a reference sound in the studio, but you still everybody hears a different random version of what you're creating depending on their choice of headphones or speakers. And initially we thought that this answer would be just to establish the same reference sound from the studio, give it to the consumer. Then we created the Truthfulness product, which was kind of built on that hypothesis, but eventually we learned that not enough people like that sound. It encouraged us to go deeper and figure out, hey, so if they don't like that, what do they like? And it turns out that everybody likes a different sound. And this sound personalization, like calibrating studios to the reference sound and then personalizing the sound for the end listener, seems to be as close as we can get to the conceptual answer of what is the perfect sound and how can you ensure that everybody hears the best sound that they might wish for. But then once we ended up with, hey, personalization seems to be the big answer that we believe in for the consumer market of establishing the perfect sound, then by that time the name Sonarworks kind of was clear that that's not gonna resonate. And then we did some more soul searching and realized that SoundID seems to be the perfect name, which kind of encapsulates this notion that the perfect sound for everybody is actually personal and it's not one size fits all type of world.
Yeah, because what we can you conducted a lot of research with tests to see what kind of profile people liked, and there is this bridge. It's bringing the quality from reference to SoundID for the smartphone application and headphones, but also to give some kind of reference of mastering of what the consumer use in sound, now SoundID reference. So the two universes are merging.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I like the analogy of, like, if you think about painting, and I'm not a painter, but I'm assuming that if you're kind of painting your artwork, then you would benefit in the creation context from like a neutral white light, so that when you're painting like a particular red type of a sunset, then you know that what you paint is actually there. But then once you've done painting and you switch over to like the enjoyment context, and you're no longer in the creation context, but you're in the enjoyment context, you bring the painting home, put it by your fireplace or whatever where you hang it, and then it's perhaps okay to kind of not want that neutral white light. And so for creation context, this neutrality is key, and we see it working and bringing benefit to many music creators around the world. And then for the listening part of it, you start with that reference sound, but then everybody actually enjoys and likes a different thing because of different reasons. But it's okay to personalize it on top of that artist's original vision.
And these tests are very precise, and when guys here at Research and Development make the test, they can, for example, tell you if you play the guitar, if you play the drum. Did you ever think, for example, about having partnership with medical industry? Is it something that could come?
It can be, like, first of all, an interesting fact: the hearing aid industry is bigger than the sound equipment industry, simply because, like, if you look at the individual device, like an individual hearing aid costs in thousands, and there are actually like increasing number of people in need for those. So as a business, from a business perspective, it's a very, very meaningful industry to look at. From where we started, that's not the perfect fit for us at this point, because we are aiming at improving, basically we are aiming still at improving the experience for people without even hearing any kind of hearing damage. And then of course we are looking at the hearing aspect as well, but then kind of the next, there's improving the experience for people who are actually completely fine with hearing. Then you have improving in the middle, improving experience for people with some hearing loss. And then you have, you don't hear what people are telling you, and then improve the experience for that person. So these tasks are very different in terms of how you would actually solve the problem. What works for one end doesn't work for the other. So once you go to like very serious, drastic, hearing problem on a medical grade, the solutions are actually also somewhat technologically different than you would apply elsewhere. So somewhere along the way we might come to that, but at the moment we still kind of look at the main use case as let's improve the experience for just ordinary person that doesn't necessarily like have a half deaf hearing. So, but eventually it might get to that. There are some unique technological aspects that set us apart from other companies, that potentially we can solve some problems in that area that others can't, but it's just not the main business focus at this point.
So there is recently this partnership with One More, with a brand of headphones. Could you tell us about this new partnership?
Part of this bigger mission that we see ourselves on, like bridging music creators with listeners and delivering amazing sound experience to everybody out there, we really see that the best way of achieving that is through partnerships with different sound manufacturing companies, and One More is now among the first ones. I think it's definitely the biggest one so far on the consumer market that we are working with.
So it's about putting the SoundID profile inside Bluetooth headphones. Yes. Yeah.
So ultimately what we want to do is we want to bring this sound personalization experience to the listener, and we have to, and do it in a very, very smooth and convenient way for the listener. So the case with the headphones is that, and we also have partnerships with Drop headphone and with a monoprice headphone. So the Bluetooth chipset inside the headphone is actually able to handle the DSP necessary to deliver the personalization. So we're kind of integrating our app level technology with the headphone so that the personalization can run inside it.
So these partnerships with manufacturers are really the key to bring the best possible user experience, because there are two parts to our technology. First, you have to create your SoundID and understand what is it that you need in sound, and the second then is how do you use it. So from a usage perspective, building it into the headphone is the most convenient way, because once you upload your profile into the headphone, you can just forget about it. It works always everywhere. It just becomes part of the headphone. So doing these integrations on a hardware level is the best way to go from user experience point of view. So that's why I think we are so excited about these launches, because it actually brings the full user experience the way we kind of originally thought about it to the market.
And years of work now that are embodied in this gear. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
About SoundID reference, we are in the studio where there is a multi-channel, fantastic multi-channel system. Can we hope for the next upgrade that there will be Dolby calibration?
So there is
we can definitely hope.
there is we are here in a sort of our studio where a lot of research work happens and like product development and testing, and here we can experience somewhat like I would say the future, right? So this is a multi-channel setup which is tuned in a very specific way. So here you can experience speaker-based really three-dimensional sound experience. I don't think that that's the reality at an ordinary home. You don't have 23 speakers installed in your living room, at least not at this point. And there has been some development on the headphone side to give you these 3D experiences in the headphone. If we would go through the demos in this room and try to show you the same on the headphone, and the 3D technology is really not our main angle. We don't do the 3D technology, but on the speaker side, in this complicated of a setup, it works really nice. If we would give you the same on the headphones, it's a considerably less smooth of an experience than it would be on the speakers. So we are somewhat playing a part in it, because what we do is we fix the acoustics of headphone or a speaker, so we can make any kind of content or other experience that's put on this hardware sound better, but we don't really ourselves develop the 3D technology. So as much as 3D technology develops and becomes more mature, we can help the experience, but I don't think that the speaker technology is there, but the problem is that average consumer doesn't have this kind of speaker setup at home, and the headphone technology still has some way to go for like real maturity in terms of market adoption. But our role there is improving on that experience, so that we can already do. There are a lot of...
But also kind of answering, regarding SoundID reference, we definitely see that there is now increasing interest among music creators to kind of create sound on a 3D object-based audio standards like Dolby Atmos or others that are coming up. And yes, we're very much looking into helping those users establish good multi-channel studios.
Yes. The fact the next product coming out a bit later is a multi-channel product for the professionals. So we're working on that.
Okay, so maybe one of the next upgrades, but not sure yet, if I understand.
No. We are fully committed on
we're working on that. I wouldn't now kind of yet commit on when exactly that would come out and more details, but yes, we're definitely looking on that.
So there is this partnership with Merging also, that will integrate. You won't need necessarily a computer to make sound calibration. I need some breaking news for this YouTube channel. So what are the different projects for the future? Do you have
also on the products on the SoundID reference music creator side? We really see that one of the biggest wishes among our users is to get the calibration process out of the box for different reasons. Convenience, better fit for the workflow, and you don't have to...
And out of the box means sort of not as a software solution, but as a part of a hardware solution.
Yeah. And then that is... Yes, so that is kind of something that we're definitely working on. Merging is kind of actually the first integration product that has arrived to the market, which is amazing. That's actually quite a cool milestone. We will have a couple more integration product announcements soon. I'm not yet allowed to do it because we're kind of coordinating with the partners, but you might have noticed we are now also working with Subback on an integration. That's actually also news that's already out. I think you should see something from us and Adam Audio. That's also been quite a long time already teased to the market, but I think we'll finally actually do it sooner rather than later. And there are some more that can't unfortunately yet be disclosed, but stay tuned.
But there is a reason that this studio has these particular speakers here, so we are working.
Okay. So my last question, what I call the magic question, if you could tell us what is your oldest memory, as far as you can remember, connected with music or sound, each one of you.
That's an interesting. I have to think for a minute. I do remember now. My I wouldn't say like my family when I grew up. There wasn't music in the background always. Like my parents were not musicians or so involved with like music, but we still did have a vinyl player that was like, it's still Soviet Union, like 80s, and they did kind of reprint some Western vinyls in Soviet Union, but some very weird ones, some really weird ones. So I remember that like at some point I already knew how to put on the vinyl and kind of listen to it, and there was this like usually there were these like local vinyls they didn't have an appealing kind of cover, but there was this one which was some kind of African band. I don't know why they reprinted it in the Soviet Union, and it had like a some African tribe on the cover, and I was like, whoa, what's that? And then I like put on that music, and there was some really kind of weird rhythms and really weird music from my Western perspective and from what I had heard in Soviet Union. And now that you asked the question, I do remember that I was just like listening to that and thinking like, wow, how weird this stuff is, but it's like interesting. So that's what came up in my memory.
I think I guess my parents, I mean, it was not music playing in the background always, but I guess my parents had a fairly fancy stereo system for the time with like a cassette desk player and some kind of speakers and amplifiers. And I think I was kind of listening to my father's cassettes, probably like, I don't know, age 5-ish, 6-ish, something like that. And I kind of got stuck on this one kind of, I guess you could call him like a Latvian country singer or something, but it was kind of one cassette, and I kind of kept going over and over and kind of only requesting that thing to be played, so that my parents then told it they ended up hiding that particular cassette from me because it kind of got to the point they didn't like it any longer. But
Remind me of something. Guys, thank you very much for your time. It was really a pleasure. If you enjoy watching this content, smash the like button. Consider subscribing for more videos and help the growth of this channel. And I will see you here very soon.